Irene Chou was a leading figure of Hong Kong's New Ink painting movement between the 1960s and 1980s. Born in Shanghai in 1924, Chou grew up having a basic foundation in Chinese ink and was first formally introduced to Western painting in secondary school. After graduating in 1946 from the prestigious St. John University in Shanghai with a degree in economics and minor in sociology, she became a journalist for Peace Daily Shanghai, where she met her husband, Yi Wen. Due to the turbulences in post-war China, the couple left Shanghai in 1949, briefly staying in Taiwan, then settling down in Hong Kong in the same year. Hong Kong marked the start of Chou's spectacular artistic career. In 1954, she was introduced to and came under the tutelage of renowned Lingnan-style artist Zhao Shao'ang. Under the guidance of Zhao and being a diligent learner, Chou picked up the techniques quickly and conscientiously imitated works of her mentor, as well as Song and Yuan dynasty masters. The 1960s saw Chou mature in style, shifting from traditional Chinese ink painting to contemporary creations. In 1966, Chou came under the tutelage of Lui Shouquan. A major figure in Chou's artistic life, his groundbreaking theories of new ink painting inspired her to explore more expressive ink styles. Chou was part of the pivotal force to drive Hong Kong's new ink movement and a founding member of Hong Kong's leading art group, One Art Group, in the 1970s. At this time, Chou began studying drum-shaped stone inscriptions, and lines began to take center stage in her oeuvre. Her hallmark spheres entered her space and later became a notable visual symbol of her inner mind. The death of her beloved mentor, Lui Shouquan, in 1975, followed by her husband's in 1978, was a huge blow to Chou. Swamped with grief, she channeled her overwhelming emotions into her works and later developed one of her most known piled ink technique. Along the same timeline, Chou also established a contrasting technique she termed impact. It is characterized by broad sweeps of black ink, yet with a significant amount of empty spaces. In the 1980s, her impact technique evolved into impact structure strokes. Derived from the slashed ink technique of Chinese ink and Zen philosophy, her new iconic technique led to a wholly different style characterized by bold, dynamic strokes of ink splashed onto the wet strand paper, exuding a heightened sense of vigor. Throwing herself entirely into painting, she broke away from the melancholy of the 1970s and colors returned to her works. After a stroke in 1991, Chou was moved to Brisbane, Australia. Chou began to regain movement in 1993, but the atrophy of her cerebellum worsened with time. Despite being unable to move freely and facing difficulties with daily tasks, she created a series of large-scale works, some of which were permanently collected in public spaces in Malaysia, Singapore, and Brisbane. Her 1990s works were otherworldly. The galaxies she created exude a mystical charm beyond self-realization. Imbued in them were multitudes of transcendental narratives waiting to be discovered. This can be seen in her works from this exhibition titled as Clouds. In 2007, she continued to paint smaller works due to space constraints during her stay in a nursing home. Chou aged with grace and passed away in 2011. Chou's works are collected widely by important private collectors, reputable public and private institutions, including the British Museum, Boston Museum of Fine Arts, Chinese University of Hong Kong, Hong Kong Museum of Art, University Museum and Art Gallery of the University of Hong Kong, formerly known as Fung Ping Shan Museum, National Art Gallery, Manila, National Museum of History, Taipei, Queensland Art Gallery,